so much, Dennis. I really appreciate it. And I am so thrilled to be here to talk with you guys about a topic that's near and dear to me is mental backroads on highways. And I very much want to kind of take you back to where I had this paradigm shift. And a lot of it, as I was alluding to earlier, and as all you guys are talking about too, of this verb and loving as a verb, all of this came from once I became a mom. Because, and it's not necessarily like becoming a parent or not a parent, but for me, it was an event in my life that the control was taken away. And the control that I thought I had, I did not have. And so that particular event, like, was when my first baby was born. I studied for motherhood like it was an exam. I knew I was going to rock it and I was going to be an A+ mom. I wanted to be a different mom than what my upbringing was. My mom yelled too much. She had an angry face too much. And I knew I was going to be different. And I'm a nurse practitioner, worked with pediatric neurology, worked with kids, worked with families. I know it all. But within 10 minutes of my baby, my first being born, she was taken to the NICU. And I had absolutely no idea what to do with that. The control, like I said, I thought I had was taken away in an instant. And it was this, what do I do? What do I do? Like, I had all these emotions that I did not feel like I had any control over. I was frustrated. I was anxious. I wanted to yell at everyone who walked in the room. And I was just so, I was far from a perfect A+ mom. And there was so much shame in that. And I journaled a lot about that for the first year. And my baby, she's doing great. But she had some procedures that I needed to continually, time and time again, kind of let go of control and let other people give my baby over to someone else. And it was so hard. It was so hard. And every time I would journal about this and I would say, I feel like I'm frustrated right now. I don't know how to control these emotions. Like, I don't know how to deal with being anxious. Like, I know I should stop worrying. I know, like, I'm a mom now and my baby or my toddler, she's watching. How am I supposed to be perfect? I can't be perfect. So, after some inner work and all, and looking through my journal entries, I realized that this whole mom, like I was saying earlier, there's a verb to it, and there is Merriam-Webster defines mother in the dictionary as the verb to mother as to give birth, allow one to rise, care for, or protect. And if you think about what gives birth, what allows one to rise, care for, or protect, and that's love. And when you think about love, that's sometimes the only thing you can control. That's the only thing I feel like I could control. And when I break it down into that simplicity, if I'm choosing love in this moment or choosing fear in this moment, what can I choose right now? And going back to Jenny's talk earlier, like with kindness or with anything, when I am choosing this in the moment, I can do something differently. I have control over that. And sometimes I don't have control over anything else in this moment in time. So that really was a paradigm shift. And I was like, how can I work with this verb now? And when I was thinking about the brain, because I just am such a brain nerd, I love neuroscience. I find it to be like a fascinating wilderness that we're still exploring. And I thought about these mental backroads and highways of, I so quickly have a mental highway to fear, to frustration, of this, like, when you put a hand on the stove, like you take it off right away. You aren't even thinking about it. And I'm yelling about something. And I remember realizing that when my baby was 2, I had a camera. I was, a new mom, had a sitter. We had a camera running. And I forgot to turn it off. And my 2-year-old verbosely said to me, "Mom, I hate how you yell so much. I hate your angry face." And I was like, I don't yell that much. I know like I'm working on it. Like I know I was caught off guard at the beginning, but I'm not like my mom. Surely I'm not. But when I looked at that camera, I knew it was running. So I'm like, well, let me assess my performance. I'm a flute player. Let me check it out. I sounded exactly like my mom. All I saw in the camera, like in like observing myself when I was scolding her, was an angry face, was this frustrated mom or frustrated person. And so I was like, how can I take a mental back road? How can I, work with neuroplasticity to do that? And I really wanted to, it was that moment in time that I really felt like I needed to break a generational legacy or and create something different. And so going back to the brain, I just want to kind of bring us back to a little bit, and this may be a review for some of y'all, but I just love talking about this, is we have so many thoughts in our brain all the time. And I mean, thousands of thoughts. And what are thoughts? Like, what are thoughts if we think about them? And the brain has millions of connections between different neurons, and well as trillions of connections between those. And it's always going between, either this highway, a well-traveled highway of frustration or anxiety, or maybe if I'm practicing a different habit of showing gratitude right now, or kindness or mindfulness, maybe I can take a back road and build a different back road into that, choose neuroplasticity into that. So then there is two parts of the brain, the amygdala, which is the fear center, which is all animals share for the most part. It's a primitive structure in our brain. It's named after an almond, which I have an almond here. So it's this small. And if you think about this amygdala, like pretend this is the amygdala in our brains, deep within our brains, it's responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze. So when I am triggered with a threat of any kind, it would perceive this, or in any animal, if my heart rate will increase. My concentration will go up to focusing on what is putting me in danger right now. My pupils will dilate. I'll get ready to fight or flee, or kind of stand still. Now, the thing with the amygdala, though, is that with people and with animals, it's very different, where people also have a prefrontal cortex, what's up here in our brains. And animals don't necessarily have that prefrontal cortex. They're just kind of dealing with this thing that's running the show all the time. But this amygdala it's doing its job. When it senses a problem, it's going to get that heart rate going, get you prepared. But it responds so many times to false alarms. If you have a memory, or if you feel like you're running late and you're yelling, and I know for me, if we were running late, I would yell really quickly. I would take a highway to my amygdala, and because my amygdala is thinking something bad may happen when we're running late, which isn't necessarily the case. That's not really a life or death situation, but the amygdala is just doing its job. And so it's taking that pause, taking a space, and as opposed to reacting, responding, and taking a mental back road. But that takes time, and that takes new neuronal growth. It takes literally, you are trailblazing new pathways in your brain. And I think, for the longest time before I became a mom, I had this, I need to be A+ at everything. But when I really understood what the growth mindset was with Carol Dweck, and how we could either, think we're a failure. We can think that we failed at something, that maybe I'm not good enough, or whatever that is. But there's power in yes, and there's power in embracing imperfection. And that in itself can help me when I know I have the potential, each and every one of us have the potential every day to grow new pathways, to take mental back roads, to take different responses as opposed to reactions. Viktor Frankl He is a Holocaust survivor, famous psychiatrist or psychologist. He says between stimulus and response, there is a space. And within that space lies our ability to choose. And within that ability lies our growth and our freedom. And there truly is so much growth and freedom that we can have when we take this amygdala and say, thank you for keeping me safe. I'm glad that you're doing your job, but I have a logical brain where I can think about, is this a situation that I need to be reacting in the moment? Do I need to be fighting back? Do I need to be running away? Do I need to be tensing up? And just extending that space just a bit. And that takes practice. And and that's something that I think I have been working on, through my journaling, through my book that I wrote about how can I take different back roads. So I identified 6 mental back roads that I have been taking that really help in the moment. The first one is gratitude. So like if my amygdala is reacting and I'm yelling right now, how can I choose gratitude in this moment? How can I take that mental back road? And I feel like there's a variety of ways to kind of stop yourself in the moment. But for me, I will just try to list out 3 things. Like right now, what can I do in this moment? And in my book, I talk about a skunk sprayed our dog. And earlier we were talking about there's a toad in my house right now. We had a skunk in my back deck a couple of years ago, and it was just chaos. It was chaos. I was so frustrated. It was a weekend morning. It was on a Saturday. I wanted to relax. The dog, I hear something outside, and then I smell the skunk smell permeating throughout the house, and I was really on a reacting highway at that point. And I woke up my husband and said, I need you to deal with this dog right now. And I was researching, how do we deal with skunk smell removal? And the dog got sprayed 3 times by the skunk. But anyway, what I then decided to do, because I was writing the book at that time, was choose a different way. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is right now. I am taking a mental highway. Let me choose gratitude right now. Let me think of 3 things in this moment that I can be grateful for. Number 1, it's a weekend and my husband's able to help clean, wash the dog off. He's not at work right now. Number 2, I don't have to deal with that part of the mess. I'm just researching it. Number 3, I'm able to spend some time with my kids right now in the moment. So I went upstairs and I, watched them read, was being mindful. And I wrote that down. I physically wrote it down. And I think there was that act of writing it down or really pausing that put my brain travel between those neurons, if you want to think of it from a microscopic way, into a different mindset. And it was trailblazing a new path. So that is something that I continue to work on, but also knowing that certain days we're not going to have all sunny days. We're not going to have. I sometimes will compare this to like candies that like M&M, like a big, those party size M&M bags. I think they're 38 ounces. They're different colors, and when you grab a handful of those, you can eat them so quickly. And if you think about it as days, it's just wild. Like if you grab just 7 M&Ms, which is so easy to do, that's a week. And if you grab, I'm trying to think what the numbers are. I put them out. 5 years is 1 party bag. And then 10 years is 2 of those party bags. How quickly can we eat up our days? And when we think about it, some are green days, some are yellow days, some are red days. But at the end of the day, it is a day in our life, and they go so quickly if we are, just kind of not slowing down and being appreciative of what we have in this moment. David Steindl-Rast, he is a monk. He talks about, I think he has a TED Talk that talks about having stop signs in your life, pausing, and just saying, what can I be thankful for? My kids will sometimes like pause, like I'm teaching them to like stop before the road. and they say, look, there's no cars. But we can do that in our lives and say, pausing right now, am I being grateful for for being, I'm here today. I'm talking to you guys right now today. I am so like when I kind of slow down, like my heart rate's a little elevated because I'm presenting right now. But even right now in this moment, I can look up and I see all of your faces. I can look to the side of me and I mean, you see the stage here, but it's the sunlight. There's sun, there's flowers, there's birds. There's so much out there. And that also brings me to the power of nature and mindfulness. There's another back road in that. When I am running late or feeling anxious, trees, going outside physically can help ground me. And, thinking about how nature is not perfect. The fall is so beautiful. I feel like so many people love fall colors, but fall colors, theirs are made from darkness. The green in leaves, most of the leaves, that's from chlorophyll being produced. And it's darker days, decreased sunlight that brings out the true colors of the leaves, the yellows and the oranges, and stops that chlorophyll production. And it's so beautiful. Like there's beauty in the darkness. And like my tomato plants will show me also this resiliency, this flexibility. They can't be stiff in order to get to the light. They have to move and they have to take almost their own mental back roads in a sense. So mindfulness can really help with that for me. And another thing that, kind of piggybacking on the kindness conversation, that Jenny was having earlier is I feel like kindness is so powerful of a mental back road in itself too. And for me, that can also be like with self-compassion and kindness. And, John Gottman, he's a marriage researcher that talks about the 5-to-1 ratio of being 5 positives to 1 negative. And that is like a sign of a healthy relationship. You have 5 positives to 1 negative. But we talk about that, but I think about it from ourselves, from our own standpoint of like a powerful relationship we have is kindness to ourselves. And do you counteract a negative self-talk with 5 positives? Like, I know I don't. Like if I have a negative talk, or negative self-thought, I don't necessarily practice that. Kind of trying to be positive. So I thought that would maybe be a good exercise for all of us right now to pause for a minute and maybe think of a couple positives about yourself right now to counteract a negative talk, if that's